He took the role as a barrelman and funnyman in the rodeo arena to a level no one had ever done before, and has become the Western sports industry's ultimate entertainer.
I was influenced by stand-up comedians and Garth Brooks.
Flint Rasmussen is my guest today as we talk about how he got started, his career with professional bull riders, and his thoughts on the role that Western sports play in connecting with non-agricultural people.
I got asked one time, why don't you guys use female bulls? I said, well, that would be a cow.
It's the one and only Flint Rasmussen on this episode of the Working Ranch Radio Show. Well, hello, everyone, and we welcome you here again. It's another episode of the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm Justin Mills. We're glad to have you joining us on our program today. And if you heard that intro, you know you were in for a treat here today. I'm glad to have Mr. Flint Rasmussen joining us on our program, the one and only, as you see the title of our program today, because really, when it comes to the Western sports industry, and that, of course, it includes professional bull riders, rodeo that we see out there, he is a name that is synonymous with those sports in the realm of entertainment. And so it was, I had an opportunity to be up in Billings, Montana for a week for a school up there, and was able to sit down with Flint before he kind of got back on the road going to a couple of different events. And so I'm glad to be able to share this conversation with you as I sit down with Flint, and always entertaining. But at the same time, one of the things that we're going to talk about in that too is really where he feels the role is with the Western sports industry in making a connection with those not affiliated with agriculture. Now, if you heard that opening, it was kind of a funny thing in there, but he does take it quite seriously, and I think you're going to hear that come out in our conversation today with him. And so I appreciate him taking the time to do that. Our guest again today, Mr. Flint Rasmussen. Also, don't forget, climbing up towards the end of the program, meteorologist Don Day will be stepping in as we take a look at our long-term weather of what it's going to be looking like across the country here for the next couple of weeks. A thank you to our sponsors of the Working Ranch Radio Show, Bobcat One Tough Tractor. You can go to their website at bobcat.com, and they've got a tool in there. It's called their Build and Quote tool, and you can design your ideal machine. Check it out at bobcat.com. Also, Gelvy and Balancer, the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. For more information, go to their website at gelvy.org. Well, as we regularly do here in our program, the Captain Tim O'Byrne, publisher and editor of Working Ranch Magazine, checks in, and here is this week's edition of Tim's 2 Cents.
Hey, Justin. Hey, everybody out there in Working Ranch Radio Land. The June-July issue should be in your mailbox here pretty quick. Check it out. Go to page 14. That's my topping out column where I usually ramble on and on about something that's got me all fired up. But this time, I asked Chelsea Good, the Vice President of Government and Industry Affairs and Legal at the Livestock Marketing Association, to jump in there and fill us in on what's going on in Washington. And she starts off this guest column pretty cool. Here's a quote. "This squall between the packers and the producers of this country ought to have blown over 40 years ago, but we still have it on our hands." Justin, do you think that's a quote that just came out of the woodwork here a couple of weeks ago? No, it came from Senator John B. Kendrick of Wyoming. He made the statement in 1919. That was 103 years ago. And she goes on to write, while this declaration could easily have been made in one of the 6 livestock hearings held in Washington, D.C. in the past 2 years, it happened 103 years ago. Excellent article, Chelsea. Thank you so much, folks. Read up on it. Justin, I want to hear your opinion on it. Maybe in the next episode. Give us two or 3 minutes on it. Thanks. Have a great day, folks. And Justin, I know you got an excellent show.
Well, Captain, thanks for that, and definitely kind of piques the curiosity there to read the rest of that article in the next issue of Working Ranch Magazine. And probably like everybody else listening, I was a little surprised when you said the time frame of that quote, that would have been from a recent congressional hearing, and then, of course, the surprise there that was a quote from the early 1900s. So a big issue then, a big issue now, and so that'll be an interesting article to read in the next edition of Working Ranch Magazine. Speaking of Working Working Ranch magazine. If you do not have a subscription, you can get yours started today by going to workingranchmag.com, and you can sign up to get started there. Well, stay with us. When we come back, we'll head into our featured interview as entertainer Flint Rasmussen with the Professional Bull Riders joins us as we continue here in just a few moments on the Working Ranch Radio Show. Living in the country means working in the country, and that calls for a tough tractor. Well, Bobcat has 15 models in its compact tractor lineup from 21 to 58 horsepower. With the help of your local Bobcat dealer, you'll find a perfect match for your property and to-do list. Get a look at all the different models at bobcat.com, and while you're there, use the Build and Quote tool to design your ideal machine. Get yourself one tough tractor from one tough animal. Bobcat. Visit bobcat.com. And we welcome you back here to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm Justin Mills as we head now into our featured interview today. A little bit different direction today. Is, you know, we're always kind of pretty serious here on the show as far as really getting into some nitty-gritty issues that affect our ranches here across the country. Today, a little bit of different direction, but don't get me wrong. There's some elements we're going to talk about here today that are very important to our ranching industry. My guest today is Flint Rasmussen, and if folks, of course, the last many years back, if you've been watching Professional Bull Riders, you know the man in the middle of the arena and the entertainer for Professional Bull Riders is Flint Rasmussen. And Flint, I appreciate you joining us here.
You do. You ranchers, you're too serious all the time. Yeah. It's always, when's it going to rain? When's it going to stop raining? You're too serious. I do got to tell you, we talked before we started about how spotty everything, how nature's so funny, where my folks, my dad and brother, who have a few cows up on the Rocky Mountain front in Choteau, Montana, they have got no rain. Yeah. It's just like a desert. And then down here, it's been that way in southeast Montana. For 2 years it hasn't rained. Yeah. And a good friend of mine, I did a podcast with a kid, Dougie Hall. He's an Indian kid from up in Browning, and he's an inspirational speaker. And we were talking about drought and rain, and he said, like my grandpa told me, he gave me words of wisdom when it's dry. He said, remember, it always rained again, except that one time. So there you go. But, okay, loosen up today. Yeah, Justin.
I know. Just relax a little bit here. Let's first start. I know a lot of folks probably are familiar with you. I mean, you've been in the Western sports industry for years. But let's go back to your how you kind of got started. I know your dad was a rodeo announcer. Yeah. I mean, you kind of were in that, and so you've always been around that element. But you're also a school teacher by trade.
I was, yeah. I grew up. My earliest memories are in a camper on the back of a pickup, or then they got a little motor home. My dad, all summer, announced rodeos, but he never was a PRCA rodeo announcer. He was in the NRA. So we didn't have that reference of big rodeos. People say, who is the rodeo clown you looked up to and modeled after? And I didn't really have any. That wasn't my interest. I went to rodeos because that's where we went. That was our summers. And I was more interested in going over to the carnival. Hey, Dad, give me a 20. I'm going to go ride some rides. But in the meantime, like my mom said, we all grew up on the steps of the announcer stand. So I watched a rodeo not from the bleachers looking from the front. I watched rodeo from the announcer stand from the back. Yeah. So I just sat there like this and watched what was going on, and watched Dale Small, who is the stock contractor, yell at guys to nod their head quicker. The way they transitioned from event to event, that was a big thing at his rodeos. My dad announced he wanted them 2 hours. Yeah. He wanted them shorter. He'd put 8 calf ropers in the performance and 12 bareback riders, and so that was my earliest influence. So, but going up junior high and high school, I was in sport. I was a football, basketball, track guy.
All-state football.
Yeah, and but I was also in the all-state choir. So I had this weird combination of in the school play, but had to leave basketball practice to get to play practice. It was. I didn't think anything of it. I think we had back then personalities were a little stronger you could do all that and not worry about what people said, whatever. And so when I went to college, I kind of missed that sports deal. I went to Western Montana College in Dillon, so I was still rural. You know, my dad had a few cows, but it was never our main thing, ranching. But we knew ranching. But I missed the sports thing, and I was sitting around the dinner table one night. We were sitting around a table visiting. My dad was there. My brother Will was there, and his rodeo announcing career was kind of starting to grow. And for some reason, we were having this discussion about rodeo clowns. And I said, man, I remember seeing rodeo clowns when I was 5 years old and seeing them now, and they're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And we had this whole discussion about why does nobody change? Like, why don't they change what they're doing? I said, I could do it. And my dad said, do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too cool. So they made a couple calls, and I scraped together a uniform, a costume, and I knew how to do it.
You'd been seeing it your whole life.
Will had the rodeo in Superior, Montana, and knew the committee and called him and said to my brother, he's not going to fight bulls. He's just going to be funny and whatever. That's fine. And they love when you work for nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then Don Jacobs, and then I did the college rodeo at Dillon. Don Jacobs hired me to do NRA rodeos the next summer. And so during college and through the start of my 2-year teaching career, it was my summer gig. Yeah. And so it kind of blew up, it took off. Everybody thinks it just took off and everything was given to me, but there were some lean years.
Yeah. It was.
After I quit teaching school to try it, it was not easy. But I think philosophy-wise, I think the problem I see in young guys starting in this career now is they start from day one with these big aspirations that they want to do the biggest rodeos in the country. Yeah. That was never in my head at all.
Yeah.
I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. So I did NRA rodeos for 5 years before I even Lloyd Ketchum talked me into buying my PRCA card and having people sign for me. And in the meantime, in those 5 years, I kind of perfected my craft, where I think young kids now are, they do 1 year of open and amateur rodeos and they're ready. Yeah. They want to go to Cheyenne.
They're ready for Pendleton right now.
Yeah, and it just isn't realistic. But maybe it is. I see some of them doing it, but I don't think it helps the quality at all. But I like to think I changed set the bar a little higher, changed the style a little bit, and it brought there's this big tradition in Western sports, rodeo, of what a rodeo clown should be, and I think I've changed that, but I think it's opened the eyes to small town people, rural America, that this all can cross over.
Yeah.
If you're at a rodeo, I can dance like Michael Jackson. It's okay. I'm not threatening your lifestyle here. So,
Well, and I think I remember when I came into when I took over at the Nile and going down to Las Vegas for the PRCA meetings at the time. You had just started and you'd been in about a year or so on your exclusive contract with PBR. And I remember going to the award ceremony down at the PRCA convention, and the first thing of course they have all these different awards, Man of the Can and Barrelman, and all the different awards for barrelmen or clowns. And the first thing that those guys would get up is, "I'm glad Flint Rasmussen."
I remember Keith Isley said that first year. I wasn't there, but somebody said
that was Keith
that he said that, and that is flattering.
I remember as a kid going to a rodeo. When you're a little kid, that catches your eye, and that was a very entertaining part, a very memorable part of your rodeo experience as a kid. I grew up in a ranch family, but we never rodeoed. I mean, that was just, we never did that. But and then as you grow up, you find out the same jokes you heard as a 5-year-old was the same jokes you were hearing when you were later on. And what we saw is you put kind of, I'm at a school right now where we're supposed to break out of our paradigms, and I think that's what you did with the industry.
Yeah, it's funny that tradition of what a lot rodeo clowns used to do, still there's believe it or not, there's a stigma there, and it's as far as rodeo clown influences, I get asked that a lot, and I always say I was influenced by stand-up comedians and Garth Brooks. Yeah, remember he was the first country singer to put on a show, and I remember him talking about engaging the person in the top row, going into the crowd, and I took his entertainment philosophy and the real observational humor and combined it.
Yeah.
And the dancing stuff, that wasn't something I invented. That's just what when I hear music, that was just what I did.
You just got a jig.
Yeah, that's just what I do. And now the next, I remember I quit doing the NFR. And Sean Davis and I had a very good relationship. He trusted me. Yep. The only clown ever to wear a microphone at the NFR.
Yeah.
And he'd let me dance. But I left, and the next guy that came in, he's like, they made him, I still see it at the NFR. They make the barrelman dance to get the crowd going before the bull riding. Well, that's not what they do. Like, now he's just plugging somebody in to a position that was my style. Mm-hmm. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
And like, not everybody you can't expect that from everyone, because I can say, Justin, I'm a dancer.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a good dancer.
You are.
Damn it.
You are. Well, and that's why that was what I feel. And we'll talk about that. We're going to take a break here in just a bit, and we're going to talk about the next element, and that was when you signed your exclusive contract with PBR, because I think that was a part that really has exposed a lot of people to you across the country, and so we'll talk about that when we return. You're listening to the Working Ranch Radio Show. My guest today is Flint Rasmussen, and we'll be back when we return after these messages. For commercial cow-calf producers, crossbreeding with Gelbvieh Balancer is the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Gelbvieh Balancer females offer maternal superiority through increased fertility, greater longevity, and more pounds of calf weaned per cow exposed. In the feed yard, Balancer cattle can offer increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and have excellent carcass merit. Balancers add the pounds, make the grade, and deliver the value. Gelbvieh Balancer, the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. For more information, go to gelbvieh.org. Cattle producers, here's a way to put more dollars in your pocket. Put the Amafirm Advantage found in Gain Smart Mineral to work in your cow herd. Amafirm is the industry leader in increasing fiber digestion. In fact, research shows putting Amafirm to work increases forage utilization by 10%, reducing overall forage costs and allowing you to graze more animals per acre. That's a big-time return on your investment. To find which Gain Smart mineral formula is right for your herd, visit gainsmart.com. And we welcome you back here to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm Justin Mills, and our guest today is Flint Rasmussen. And we were talking a little bit about Flint earlier, kind of where you got started and how you took over the element of your role as a barrelman in rodeo and the things that projected you into the next element of your life. And we're going to talk about that now, because I'm assuming it was you signed an exclusive contract in 2005, correct?
Yeah, it was
with PBR.
For the 06 season. The last NFR I did was 05.
So yep. I'm assuming Randy Bernard gave you a call or met you somewhere.
Yeah,
and what was was it an automatic yes for you, or
no?
Or did you be like, oh?
So the deal was, I was doing PBRs in the winter, filling in.
Okay, yeah.
What I was doing since about the first World Finals I did, PBR Finals, was 1997.
Okay.
So I was kind of a face of the PBR a little in that position, but I would do, I would go to Rapid City and Tucson and, Red Bluff and Clovis in the spring, and then I'd schedule PBRs on all those open weekends. So it really gave me an opportunity in the rodeo business. If you're working all winter, you're pretty dang successful.
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
So I was working all winter. Mm-hmm. So Randy came to me the winter of 05 and said, I got a deal for you. I want you, if people want to see you perform, I want it to be at a PBR. They know that if you want to see Flint, you got to go to the PBR. Mm-hmm. I said, do you know what I make? Because they weren't paying me that well. Yeah. It was, rodeos were paying me much better. Yeah. And I said, Randy, you don't know what I make rodeoing. By the time if I win Coors Man the Can, if I get the NFR, there's bonuses here, bonuses there. You don't know. And I kind of told him. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'll pay you that per year on a salary. And I was kind of an employee at the time. They had made me an employee, even though I was not exclusive. And so I said, no, I can't. I love rodeoing too much. No. Well, it was weird. The winter ended and I started my summer run of rodeos. And my enthusiasm was just kind of gone. I was a little burned out. Really, I felt like heading into that summer of 2005, I thought, what more can I do? I was going to Reno and Calgary and Cheyenne and Ellensburg and Pendleton. Yeah. But I just felt like that's what I felt like. Yeah. What? And it's by no means my thought on rodeo in general. I'm a rodeo guy. All the guys I work with in the PBR, we're all rodeo guys. Before we just make a career decision, do something a little different. And so I went back to Randy about June and I called him and I said, is that offer still good? And he said, yeah. But I had deals at rodeo, so I went to each of them and handled it the correct way. I'm not coming back. This is what I'm going to do. It really was never about money. Like people say, oh, Flint took a big payday. Yeah. It really wasn't. Because I was doing well rodeoing and probably could now.
Still could.
So, PBR is kind of my kind of show.
Yeah.
There's a real desire. We go to, New York and Chicago and LA and Seattle. You go to these different cities bringing our lifestyle to these people. The show's a little more contemporary. Nothing's real scripted. It's a real challenge with live TV and tape TV to fit in where you can, and it is a challenge. And it was just something different.
Yeah.
And so I have fit in, early on, Jerome Robinson, who was in the formative years of the PBR. I had done rodeos for him, and he's the one that brought me in because I fit what PBR was trying to do. So through the years now, I've completely adapted. I'm more ingrained in the production than a step in and out like a rodeo clown does.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
Yeah.
And we, it's the Western world. Our Kendra Santos, she calls it our Western Empire. Now with rodeo and bull riding and timed event championships, and there's so many
things.
Things.
Women's rodeo is really becoming, with the sports they've added, and shoot.
Yeah, so the PBR thing was never. I mean, here's what's funny about rodeo, and I'm critical of the Western sports world, very publicly, very critical. It's funny that we say rodeo cowboys should make more money. It's too bad cowboys don't make more money. Then when they make more money, well, they don't try as hard now because they're making all this money. Or Flint's a sellout because he made more money. I don't know what. I have another saying that cowboys, they want to be treated like professional athletes until they get treated like professional athletes. Criticism or... the PBR's doing some team stuff this year. Yeah. Some of the guys didn't get drafted onto a team. Well, that's not fair. You're an adult. You're a professional. Fair is for pigs with ribbons. So I am critical, but not in a I don't like it way. I wish somebody'd listen to me kind of a way. So.
As PBR began to grow, it started in 1992, and of course we're recording this here in Billings, and Billings was one of the original stops. We got guys right down the road that were part of PBR when it started. You were part of PBR kind of when it started as well, so there's a lot of history in the western part of this country there. And you talk about, when you started with it, and from then till now, talk about maybe some of the positives and the negatives that you think has happened. I'm sure you had to deal with a lot of elements that was as that PBR really pressed the limit as far as production.
Yeah.
How they treated the contestants.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff there.
When I first started doing some PBRs in 1996, we were all independent contractors. You got hired just like a rodeo. It really was a lot like a rodeo, but it just had bull riding. So the production wasn't as edgy. It was every bull rider there was still rodeoing. That's why that traditional season of go in the winter and spring, take a break, start up in the fall. That was held on to because those guys were going rodeoing in the summer. And so it just gradually developed into not an intentional, let's not do it like rodeo. It just, we realized we could push the limits because we didn't have the restriction of rodeo. I remember when Randy Bernard came and said, I'm going to put a cage in the middle around camera pit so that we can get a better camera shot for TV, but I'll put a stage on top of it and it'll be in the center of the arena. And I was against it. I said, no,
really?
This takes away from the whole big arena thing. So show up, and sure enough, they put a dang shark cage in the middle of the arena. Now I go to bull ridings around as we do this. I'm headed to Deadwood. Hey, we'll have shark cage in the middle for you. Well, that's fine. I don't need it. but okay, well, and everybody thought that was crazy. Well, guess what? Bulls don't care. They buck right there. They're not using the whole arena. There's no timed events. They're, little things like that. Then the lighting, then the pyro in the dirt, then the introduction of cowboys. Everything we did was pushing forward. And truthfully, people say difference between, hey, do you like working for PBR better than working for the PRCA? Well, for one, I never worked for the PRCA. That's the difference.
You worked for the committee.
Yeah. But it's just we sell things a little different. We sell different things. We've made riders stars because it's on TV every week, and the bulls are stars. I get questions. I do a show at PBR World Finals, and I allow fans to ask questions at the show, and they're like 2 or 3 of them. Hey, we want to know the bull score on every bull. Well, can you imagine that happening at the NFR? What a bull score is, and PBR fans want to know that stuff. And as far as all of it isn't good. And the thing about Randy Bernard was the king of trying stuff. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try this in the opening. We're going to try this. I told Randy, I tell him to this day, man, when I was working for you, you had a lot of good ideas, or you had a lot of ideas. A lot of them were really crappy ideas, but he was in a time where, we used to sell out arenas because you couldn't go. There weren't standalone bull riding events on every corner and in every arena. Now we have to do it different and present something way better to get those people to come, because they can go see bull riding anywhere. I mean, every little freaking arena in Montana's had some kind of bullarama so Randy was in a perfect situation to really grow the PBR and have things snowball, because there wasn't really another option. And he did. Randy would do stuff and he'd chew our butts, and it's like, come on, man, that's dumb, But right now there's some things, honestly, PBR is doing that I scratch my head and hope it goes well, but it's innovative. And we, in this world, whether it is rodeo or bull riding or ranching or farming, innovation isn't always accepted.
It's pretty easy to kind of get in a groove and want to stay there.
So I wish I had more say. I feel like, if you're wanting to know stuff about PBR, I feel like I know exactly what crowds respond to and what they react to, and I get the feedback because I'm the public face, and I wish higher ups in the PBR would include me in a lot more of that and ask me more. There is an element. There's not many cowboys in the office now. I do not believe that selling WWE or UFC or NASCAR is the same. I feel like Western sports is a little more unique, catering to a different demographic, and I feel like I could be a good influence there. So, I mean, they're little things, but otherwise, the check is always good.
It always cashes.
Yeah, it's, man, but the places I've got to go and the people,
absolutely,
it's crazy.
Yeah. My guest today is Flint Rasmussen, entertainer for PBR. I hate to just put that title on you, because I think you're more than that. I mean, you're an entertainer and and a face for Western sports. Really, I feel that. So he's our guest today. We have one more segment with him. We're gonna come back when we return here on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
Starting off in the right direction is essential to gaining an advantage later when you go to market your calves. And I have proof that the right direction is with Sim Angus sired calves. A 2020 study by K-State showed that Sim Angus sired steer calves earn more at sale time than all other breed identified sire groups, with at least 50 lots represented on Superior Livestock's 2020 summer sales. The proof's right there. For low-risk, high-potential calves with earning potential, be confident that Sim Genetics will give you more per head, period. Stand strong, Simmental.
And welcome back here to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm Justin Mills. If you're just joining us here, our guest today is Mr. Flint Rasmussen, who is entertainer for PBR, but entertainer more than that. I mean, he is events that we see out there with Rodeo.
Are you going to say a global icon?
Global icon.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Thanks for the help.
Now somebody's going to go, he's so arrogant. I'm kidding. Isn't there a Mills, Wyoming?
There is. Just outside. In fact, you're going to be in Casper next week. You're going there to watch your daughter compete in the College National Finals.
Mills is connected to Casper.
Right there
it's
at
up
Casper.
like towards the airport.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Kelly Timberman
was
from Mills, Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
How about that floating out a little tree? There you go. Sorry, I interrupted you. But
we were talking before about how it's cool to be a cowboy now. We're kind of getting back into that. We've had a lot of help with Hollywood or TV that's helped with that. We were talking about the dynamics of COVID and people wanting to move out of some of these areas and find places more rural.
Everywhere I go and I say I'm from Wyoming or from Montana, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all the same.
You got your Wyoming cowboy t-shirt.
I do have a Wyoming t-shirt on. It's cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're from Montana. Do you watch Yellowstone? That's the next question. And I say, not really, but I'm not anti-Yellowstone.
Where's the train station?
I don't even know where a damn train station is. Whitefish, I guess. I don't know. But it is. It be everywhere you go. New York City. Oh my God, you're from Montana. I watch Yellowstone. Like that's their in.
Yeah.
You know. But they really think that's how it is.
Sadly.
But I say I can be critical of the Western sports world, and one of the things I am critical of, and a good friend of mine, Fallon Taylor, she's a very, culturally rodeo Western sports. She's very outspoken, and she has a family now and stuff. You don't see as much of her, but we used to talk about it. You go to a rodeo. What happens? You go to a rodeo and some guy shows up with a brand new cowboy shirt and a brand new hat that's out of the box, not shaped right. Yep. And what do? We make fun of him. Why? They bought a Resistol hat or an American hat. They bought Wranglers. They bought whatever. They bought some Justin boots.
Yep.
Notice them.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think those companies don't want those people to buy those? And I mean, I see it on Facebook. Oh, this time of year, rodeo season, everybody. So time for those whatever they are wannabes to crack out their hats. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
What? I don't get that. Why would we shun people or push people away or embarrass people who paid money to come watch you rope a damn steer? Mm-hmm. I never have understood that. We take such ownership of our culture that we push people away from it because we make them feel uncomfortable. Fallon Taylor used to say, I look in the crowd and see girls in their Daisy Dukes and their Toby Keith scrunched up straw hat and their shirt tied up around their belly, and I'd go thank them for coming. Because they're fans. Mm-hmm. Look at that damn Tim McGraw with his black straw hat. I don't care. I met Tim McGraw. He treated me wonderful. He bought like 12 tickets to the PBR in Nashville one year, brought his whole family, his nephews and his brother. It was somebody's birthday. Security had to go get him and bring him up. He was great. I could care less what his hat looked like. We have a way. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
And maybe this will shed some light to people. Rodeo people want every country music singer's hat to be shaped like George Strait's. Mm-hmm. Because George Strait is a cowboy. Yeah. George Strait is a team roper. We had a guy tour with us in PBR one year, and his name was Ryan Weaver, and he was a former Black Hawk helicopter pilot, military guy, lost a brother and a brother-in-law in helicopter crashes in the Middle East. And He got a cowboy hat and it wasn't shaped right. And he told me a story. He said, I had this hat on and Larry Mahan came up to him. They were filming something and he said, let me shape that hat for you like a real cowboy. And Ryan said, no, sir. He said, bull riders and rodeo cowboys shape their hat a certain way. If I shape it that way, I'm just trying to be one of them, a fake cowboy. I'm not a cowboy. I'm a country music singer. I haven't earned the right to wear a hat shaped like that as a bull rider, as a world champion. I'm a country music singer. It separates me from you real cowboys, and I admire you too much to shape my hat like that. That's a way to look at it.
Yeah.
They're not rodeo cowboys. They're country singers. Embrace it. So that is one thing that very negative that I see. I think whether it's ranching, agriculture in general, farming, where people's food comes from, the sport of rodeo, the sport of bull riding, I think we've done a terrible job of being on the offensive to educate people as to, I know the common thing is where their food comes from. Yeah. But they don't know where their food comes from. When we go do a PBR in New York City, these people have never seen a cow or a bull. Yeah. I got asked one time, why don't you guys use female bulls? I said, well, that would be a cow. Not a clue. We grow farther and farther and farther away from an agricultural society, and it makes our society more and more unhealthy. Yeah. And why is that? Why have we done such a bad job at it?
We've had different guests on the show as we talk about it, and one of the words that comes up, and it's kind of a buzzword out there, is sustainability. Well, there's a lot of elements to sustainability you can talk about. What I'm thinking of with sustainability is, how are we going to be in business in 50 to 60 to 70 years? And if we don't be proactive, like you were saying, take the offensive of, here's what we do, and be and not be so like, well, you don't do it like us, so you must not be a real cowboy.
Yeah, why is it there are billboards talking about how cruel the dairy industry is? I mean, really, what people truly protest, they think you kill cows to get milk out of them. They think that's fact. Why is it there's billboards saying that, but not the other way? There are in places, but it's about money. Yeah, it's very much about money. But
well, and it's just and that is, as you were saying, about the further away we get from the family farm, the more ignorant people come to really understanding this. That you want this, but you don't realize that to get what you're getting at the store takes all of this in the background, and that just doesn't happen when a truck just shows up and.
True story. There was a lady, she worked for CBS or something, it was years ago, that made a statement that I don't know why people think they have to kill animals to get meat when you can just get it at the store like I do. People truly say that. Yeah. The stuff we hear, it has really educated me. The opportunities I've had with PBR to go to cities and do Q&As with fans. We have an elite seat tour, it's called, and I've hosted a lot of them. There's 30 people, and we give them, it's just Q&A. And that has educated me and opened my eyes more than anything to what people know and what they don't know. What they don't know about animals, what they think we do. These animals aren't in their natural state. That's the big thing. Yeah. These bulls aren't in their natural state. And I always ask them, what is their natural state? Well, out doing this is, I say, they're not a wild animal. They're a domesticated animal. They, if you want to, when it's 30 below zero, we feed them. We, and it's such a, meanwhile, they have just come from their 800 square foot apartment where they have 2 dogs locked up all day. There's such irony in what they do. So that's been an education for me, and it's valuable to me for sure.
Well, I think that's valuable for all of us to understand here in the ranching business, that we do have to be proactive in telling our story out there, and I feel that's rodeo and PBR and women's professional rodeo and some of those kinds of things are a bridge to that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, real estate prices are what they are in Bozeman or Kalispell or wherever in Wyoming, whatever part of Wyoming is really, really nice. But that is reality. And here's what's funny. You probably hear this in Wyoming. Oh, we get one tough winter, it'll run them back to California. No, if you saw what they came from, no, that's part of the deal. And if you're a seller, the real estate prices are great. I don't know what to do. I don't know that there's an answer, but guess what? I will say this. I spent some time in Bozeman. My girls are in Bozeman. I go in the grocery store in Bozeman, Montana. Everybody there is happy. Mm-hmm. They look good. They're smiling. They say hello because they chose to live there. They have chosen Bozeman, Montana. I'm using that as an example. That they are happy because they chose to live there. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to live anywhere else. And I think a lot of the small towns around, it hasn't rained. And look at these out-of-staters coming in. Well, they're leaving a little money too. Yeah. And there's so many different ways to look at it. But I do not regularly watch Yellowstone. But if I ever get on the show Yellowstone, I will start watching. I've met all those guys like Taylor Sheridan. Come on, he knows who I am. How do you have a Montana show without me?
Well, and they even did a event in that was a rodeo, I guess, a PRCA event they had there as part of the show too, didn't they?
I think so. There's always rodeo scenes. So people always say you could be a rodeo clown at one of the rodeos. No, that's work. They're like, hey, you build fence? You could be a fence builder on Yellow. No, I want to be like the smart ass bartender in some scene. Come on. Right?
There you go.
Am I right?
Really quickly, let's talk about, you have a podcast, you have a show. Let's talk about those real quick.
I do a show for our streaming network for the PBR Ride Pass, which is on Pluto TV. I do a half-hour show every week, just kind of updating the week. It's fun. But I work more. I do every other week. Every other Thursday, I release a podcast. It's called According to Flint. We have a YouTube channel, and it's on all the streaming services. I have had everyone from, you got in on me recording one with Chad Berger.
That was good.
I've had world champions. I've had Ty Murray and Cody Lambert and Michael Gaffney and Justin McBride, all those kind of guys. I've also had country music singers, Ned Ledoux, Aaron Watson, Steve Warner was on, Mark Wills. So everything. I've had pro athletes, Rick Sutcliffe, who is a great pitcher. It reflects me. If I have somebody on, it's because I'm interested. And each episode's about an hour. And I enjoy doing. That's a big part of my life, and I enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this and join us here on our show.
I'm real busy, and I'm sure get me a tank of gas. I mean, it's like 5 miles.
No doubt. Holy moly. And you got a lot of travel in the next couple of weeks.
I like you said, I'm PBR in Deadwood, and then College National Finals Rodeo for a week where I'm not working. I'm just watching.
Get to watch.
And so nervous I can't stand myself. I'm gonna go watch the Goat NATO. My daughter Paige.
Your daughter Paige is going to be in.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, Flint, again, thanks for joining us.
Always.
The one and only Flint Rasmussen, our guest today on our program. Don't forget to check out his podcast that kicks out every other week. According to Flint, you can find it on pretty much any podcast provider out there, and also his show that is on Pluto TV. Now, if you're a PBR fan, you probably already know it's there under the Ride Pass channel on Pluto TV. That's where you will find Flint Rasmussen's TV show as well. Well, stay with us. When we come back, meteorologist Don Day will join us as we take a look at the long-term weather for the next couple of weeks across the country. You're listening to the Working Ranch Radio Show.
Whoa, Herefords are the efficiency experts for a reason. In crossbreeding systems, Herefords boost pregnancy rates by 7% and add $30 per head in feed yard profitability. And Hereford genetics bring unrivaled hybrid vigor, longevity, and disposition. Now that'll stop you in your tracks. Come home to Hereford for more pounds, more calves, and more profit. Visit Hereford.org for a sale near you.
Ranching has been in the Hargrove family for generations, and they know the value of keeping a ranch in the family. Hargrove Ranch Insurance provides pasture, range, and forage insurance to ranchers across the nation. PRF Insurance is a USDA subsidized program that allows ranchers to insure against the risk of below average rainfall. Hargrove Ranch Insurance utilizes industry-leading custom software to provide the rancher with information they need to stay up to date and educated on their policy throughout the year. Hargrove Ranch Insurance supports ranchers for this generation, the next, and those yet to come. Contact Hargrove Ranch Insurance at 325-573-8975 for a free custom quote or online at hargroveinsurance.com.
And welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm Justin Mills. As we head now into looking at our weather, meteorologist Don Day joining us here on our program. And Don, thanks again for joining us here. Just a reminder, folks, if you did not catch last week's show, Don joined us for the whole entire show as we talked about kind of the forecast and looking at long-term weather across the whole country here for the next several months and into the winter of 2023. Make sure you go back and listen to that. Don, let's talk though now. And you said one of the things is making that transition into our spring weather patterns, into more of our summer weather patterns, and we're kind of struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah, we are. We continue to see the Gulf of Alaska just continue to churn out storm systems, and while we are certainly going to be experiencing some pretty warm temperatures over the course of the next week or so, there's going to be episodes where the pendulum is going to swing still. One way to kind of know you're in a summer pattern is to see the establishment of a large high-pressure system over the southern plains. As the jet stream wants to work its way more north, you tend to get high pressure over the central and south-central areas of the United States, and that leads to more of an even keel with temperatures. But the Gulf of Alaska producing these fronts is going to still cause some swings, ups and downs, and over the next week, folks are going to experiencing that, especially over a large part of the United States. I mean, right now, it's a little bit on the cool side relative to average for the nation's midsection, while it's going to be very warm in parts of the Rockies and the Southern Plains and the desert Southwest. But then we're going to see a reversal. We're going to see the central and eastern parts of the United States have a big warm-up, while the western part of the United States is going to have a big cool down. There's going to be as much of as a 20 to 30 degree temperature swing by early next week, and even some of the higher central and northern Rockies could even see some snow early next week.
Oh, wow.
Nothing on the plains, but when you get into the middle of June and you're still looking at snow up in the higher elevations, you know, that's an indication that spring is not quite going down without a fight yet.
Mm-hmm. I'm at a school here in Billings, as we were talking off air a little bit before we started, and we got folks from all across the country, and some dry spots that we're hearing about is very north central Montana, pretty dry still, and then of course that south central plains, Texas, and we even have some folks from Mexico here. They're dry. Any relief for that south central southern part of the country?
There is going to be a little bit of relief. There is some good news in the sense that it's good news on where we are with the calendar.
Okay.
Because we are going to see a influx of subtropical moisture coming up out of Central America, out of the Baja, out of the Gulf of Mexico. And I do see the second half of June, a more frequent pattern of shower and thunderstorm activity for those southern areas. Now, we have seen some precipitation over the last 5 or 7 days into some of those southern plains, going back into southeastern Colorado, across Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Texas, saw 2 days of heavy shower and thunderstorm activity. Lamar, Colorado, one of the kind of ground zero for the parts of the western part of the southern plains that has been so dry, got 3 inches of rain in 2 days. So there's been some good news, and I do see some precipitation chances coming, but then I have to go back to something that everyone is tired of you and I talking about it, is we're still in La Nina, and the southern areas are still going to experiencing the driest conditions, but at least over the next week or two, there's going to be some precipitation coming. And for folks up in north central Montana, you want to talk about an area that's been snake bit, that Golden Triangle area up there. There has been a lot of systems going through Washington, Oregon, Idaho, southern Montana, eastern Montana, getting those areas some great precipitation, but that Golden Triangle's just been missing. It's really just bad luck. Now, I do see that area having some chances of precipitation with this spring-like front coming in early next week.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, maybe some good news for those folks up in that part of the country and, of course, down the South Central. Thanks for joining us here. We're glad to have you here on our program this week as we take a look at our weather.
Thanks for having me.
Meteorologist Don Day with a look at our long-term weather. His website is dayweather.com, and if you go there, you can find a link to his daily video podcast that he kicks out every Monday through Friday morning, or also you can find it by just searching on YouTube as well. Well, stay with us. We'll wrap up this week's show when we return here on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
Do you have a young child, grandchild, niece, or nephew that loves the weather and wants to learn more? Day Weather has produced a children's weather journal full of weather facts, fun weather experiments, coloring pages, and pages to record weather observations for every season of the year. The weather journal is for ages 3 to 7 and designed to be fun and educational. The interactive weather projects are fun for the whole family to take part in. For only $10, the Day Weather Journal is a great gift idea for any occasion. Click on our Amazon link to order at dayweather.com.
Do you know your break-even for every group of cattle on feed? Performance Beef users have quick access to real-time, accurate data. The technology simplifies feeding to financial data, making it easy to generate real-time closeouts, update rations, or analyze performance trends all in one place. Your feed, financial, and health information are integrated in one easy-to-use platform accessible from your computer, smartphone, or tablet. Find Performance Beef online to learn more and request a demo.
Well, as we bring things to a close here on this episode of the Working Ranch Radio Show, I hope for a lot of you folks out there, you're able to get your spring work done. I know for us here on the X-Ring Ranch, it's going to be a busy week as we have branding this week, and so we're going to be getting things ready for that. And then, of course, once that is over, we're kind of on the tail end of calving and mostly done with that, and so we'll be getting ready for pushing cows out into summer pastures and kind of getting set there. So I know that's kind of the normal for a lot of folks out there, as you hear, and I know the weather's been a little bit spotty across the country. We've been fortunate enough, knock on wood, here to be blessed with some moisture. We're sure thankful for that, and hoping and praying for some of you folks that have been in some pretty dry conditions that you'll see some moisture coming your way as well. I do want to thank Mr. Flint Rasmussen for joining us here on our program today. Appreciate him taking the time. I know he's busy. Yeah, as you heard, he was headed down to Deadwood, South Dakota for their PBR event, and then down to Casper for the College National Finals Rodeo that'll be taking place next week, and watching his daughter. So wish him safe travels and thank him for being on our program here today. Just another reminder, and I mentioned it earlier in the program when I had referenced meteorologist Don Day, that last week's episode 73, was all about the weather. If you missed that, you can go to the website at workingranchradioshow.com. You can find last week's show as we projected out to the rest of the spring, summer, fall, and parts of winter of 2023. A great show with Don Day on that one. Also, we've had some great other shows. You know, an easy way to get fertilizer in your pastures with the use of legumes. If you want to hear all about that, you can go back and listen to episode 72. And we've just had some really great shows here through this spring on the Working Ranch Radio Show, and invite you to go back and listen to those. Right now, before we head out here today, I do want to thank our sponsors of the Working Ranch Radio Show, Bobcat, One Tough Tractor. If you go to their website at bobcat.com, you can use the build and quote tool to design your ideal machine. Also, Gelbvieh and Balancer, the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. For more information, you can go to their website at gelbvieh.org. Well, the Working Ranch Radio Show is a production of Working Ranch Magazine, and like the captain said earlier in the show, the next edition is on its way out. If it's not in your mailbox or on your kitchen table, it will be shortly. And if you have not got your subscription, you can do it easily by going to the website at workingranchmag.com. Well, if you'd like to get a hold of me about something you heard or a topic you'd like us to cover, don't be afraid to send me an email at justin.workingranch@gmail.com. Well, be sure to join us each and every week at the same time and same place, or as I also pointed out, on your favorite podcast provider as well. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Justin Mills, and until next time, keep your chin down and your mind in the middle. So long.